Sunday. I'm not entirely sure why I'm writing this on paper instead of my computer. It probably has something to do with the strange things I've noticed lately. It's not that I don't trust my computer. It's just that I need to organize my thoughts. I need to put down all the details somewhere. They can't be altered somewhere. I know what I write can't be erased or changed. Not that it's happened yet. Everything just feels like it's blending together here, and my foggy memory makes things blurry and weird. I'm starting to feel trapped in my little apartment. Maybe that's all it? Of course, I had to pick the cheapest apartment. The only one in the basement. The lack of windows makes day and night slip by without much difference between them. I haven't been outside in a few days because I've been so cold up in my programming project. I guess I wanted to get it done. Anyone would feel strange after staring at a screen for hours. I get that, but I don't think that's the problem. I'm not sure when I first started feeling like something was wrong. I can't even define what's wrong, maybe. It's just that I haven't talked to anyone in a while. That was the first thing. That struck me. Everyone I usually chat with while I code has been inactive or just not logged in my messages to them. Gown answered. The last email I got was from a friend who said we could talk when he got back from the store, and that was yesterday. I would have called him, but the reception down here sucks. Yeah. That's probably it. I just need to call someone. I think I'll go outside. Well, that didn't go so well right now. I'm sitting here feeling dumber and dumber as the fear fades away. Is all myself in the mirror before I went out, but I didn't bother shaving the 2-day stubble. I've got a thought. It was just going to be a quick phone call. I did change my shirt though since it was around lunchtime, and I figured I might run into someone. Now I didn't. I wish I had as lowly opened my front door. I had this anxiety in my gut I couldn't place, but I brushed it fast. Natural for someone who hadn't spoken to anyone in 2 days. The hallway outside was gray and shabby, even for a basement hallway at one end. There's a heavy metal door leading to the building's boiler room was locked, of course. Next to it stood 2 old soda machines, one of which I bought a soda from the day I moved in. It had a 2-year-old expiration date. I don't think anyone in the building even knows those machines are there, and my stingy landlord doesn't care enough to restock them. I quietly closed my door and walked in the other direction. Careful not to make any noise. Not that I know why, but it was kind of fun to follow the strange impulse that told me not to break the noise of the machine's low humming. I reached the stairwell and walked up to the building's entrance through the small square window and the big door. I could see out outside, and as I approached, I was shocked. It was definitely not lunchtime. The dim city night light hung over the street. Outside and in the distance, I could see the traffic lights at the nearby intersection blinking yellow. The dull clouds hovering over the rooftops glowed with purple and black reflections from the city lights. Nothing moved except for a few trees along the sidewalks swaying in the wind. I remember shivering though it wasn't that cold. Maybe it was the wind. I could hear it faintly through the heavy metal door, and it was that kind of wind that only blows at night, constant cold, and apart from rhythmic rustling of the trees, dry leaves completely silent. I decided not to go out. Instead, I fished out my phone and held it up to the door's little window to check the reception. The bars filled up completely. And it smiled. Time to hear another person's voice. I thought relieved. It was such a strange thing being scared of nothing. I shook my head and chuckled at myself. I pressed the speed dial button for my best friend, Amy's number, and held the phone to my ear. The call rang once and then cut off. Nothing happened. I listened to the silence for 20 seconds, then hung up frowning. I checked that I did have reception, and there was nothing wrong with it. Just as I was about to call Amy, again the phone vibrated in my hand, catching me off guard. I answered. "Hello?" I said, immediately struggling to ignore the shock of hearing my own voice for the first time in a few days. I'd gotten used to only hearing the building's sounds, the fan in my computer and the soda machines outside my door. At first there was no response, but eventually a voice came through. "Hello," said a man's voice about my age. "Whom is speaking to?" "John." I replied, confused. "Oh, sorry, wrong number," he said, and hung up. He slowly lowered the phone and leaned against the thick brick wall of the stair. I was strange. The number was still in my recent calls list, but I didn't recognize it. I could think more about it. The phone rang again, startling me once more. This time, I made sure to check the number before answering, and it was another one. I didn't recognize he answered, but just held the phone to me ear. Without saying anything, nothing more than the usual background noise of a phone line could be heard until a familiar voice broke the silence. John said, "Amy." I exhaled. "Hey, it's you, is Ed. Who else is?" She replied. "Oh, you meant the number. I'm at a party on 7th Street and my phone died just as you called. This is someone else's phone." "Oh, okay." I said, "Where are you?" She asked. My eyes swept over the dull whitewashed stone walls and the heavy metal door with its little window at home. I was just feeling a bit cooped up. "Didn't real as it was late. You should come to the party," she said with a laugh. "Nah, I don't feel like trekking to some weird place in the middle of the night." Is Ed looking out the window at the silent windy street that I refused to admit scared me a little. "I think I'll just keep working or go to bed." She replied, "I can come get you. You live close to 7th Street. Right? Are you that drunk?" I asked playfully and laughed. "You know where I live?" "Yeah, of course," she said abruptly. "I guess I could walk there? If you want to waste half an hour." I said, "Okay." She continued, "Okay, I've gotta go. Good luck with your work." I lowered the phone again and looked at the number that flashed when the call ended. The humming silence filled my ears once again. The two weird phone calls and the eerie street outside amplified my loneliness and the empty stare. Well, I'm sure I've just watched too many horror movies, but suddenly I got the idea that something could have looked in through the door's window and seen some sort of terrible monster that only moved in utter solitude, waiting for unsuspecting victims who had been isolated from other people. I knew the fear was irrational, but there was no one else there to judge. So I jumped up, ran down the stairs, and through the hallway to my door, which I shut behind me as fast as I could without making too much noise. Like is that I felt a little dumb for being so scared of nothing, and the fear has already dehydrated. This down helps a lot. It makes me realize that nothing is actually wrong. Filters out thoughts and fears and leaves only the cold hard fact it's late. I got a phone call from someone who dialed the wrong number, and Amy's phone died, so she called me from another one. Nothing weird happening, but there was something strange about her conversation. I know it could be the alcohol, but didn't she seem a little distant, or was it? Yes, I didn't realize it until now as I'm sitting here writing this. I knew this would help. He said she was at a party. It was completely silent in the background. That could be because she stepped outside to call me. Now wait, it couldn't. I didn't. Arthur Wind. You need to go outside and check if it's still windy Monday. I forgot to finish writing yesterday. I have no idea what I expected to see after a rod. Up and pressed my nose against the little window in the heavy metal door. It feels so stupid. The fear from last night feels vague and illogical. Now it's going to be nice to go in the sun. I'll just check my email, shower, shave. And then I can finally get out of here. Wait, I heard something. It was thunder. That sun and fresh air thing didn't happen. I went up the stairs, only to be disappointed through the little window in the heavy metal door. All I could see was pouring rain. Only at a gloomy light filtered through the downpour, but at least I could tell it was daytime, though just a gray and soaking one. Stood there watching, hoping a bolt would light up the dark street. But the rain was too steady, and the only things I could make out were vague and strange shapes distorted by the rain. Disappointed, I turned away, but since I didn't want to go back to my room right away, I went up the stairs instead. They ended at the 3rd floor, the top of the building. I looked out through the thick window glass that the stairwell outer wall, but it was the kind of thick curved glass that distorts light. I wouldn't have been able to see much anyway, thanks to the rain. I opened the door from the stairwell and walked down the hallway. The 10 or so thick wooden doors, long ago painted a blue color, were all closed. I kept my ears open as I passed by, but it was the middle of the day, so I wasn't too surprised that other sounds than the rain could be heard. Standing there in the dim hallway with the sound of raindrops pattering against the facade outside the doors, suddenly felt an and fleeting impulse, like silent monoliths of granite erected by some ancient forgotten civilization to guard against forgotten dangers. A bolt of lightning struck outside, and in the light I could swear the old blue painted wood looked just like rough stone. Second, I laughed at myself for standing there and letting my imagination run wild. But then it struck me that if the light from the lightning could get in, there had to be a window somewhere. I vaguely remembered that there was an alcove in the middle of the hallway on the 3rd floor with a recessed window. Enthusiastic about the possibility of seeing through the rain, and maybe spotting another person. I walked over to the alcove, and sure enough, there was a large window, not as thick as the others. Rain was pouring down here, as well as in front of the window on the front door. This window could be opened. I reached out to the latch, but hesitated. A strange feeling spread through my body, that I would see something terrible on the other side. If I open the window, since everything has been so weird lately, I came up with a plan, and now I'm back in my room to get what I need to carry it out. I don't think it'll be particularly fruitful, really. But I'm bored, it's raining, and I'm going a little crazy. I came back here to get my webcam. The cord isn't long enough to reach the 3rd floor, so instead I'm going to hide it between the 2 soda machines at the dark end of the basement hallway. Run the cord along the wall and under my door and tape it down with black electrical so it blends in with the silicone strip that marks the edges of the hallway floor. I know how stupid this is, but I've got nothing better to do. Right, nothing happened. I propped open the door between the hallway and the stairwell, steeled myself, threw open the heavy metal outer door and like a maniac down the stairs into my room and slammed the door shut behind. Then I sat and stared at what the webcam saw, which is the hallway outside my door and most of the stair. Well, I'm watching right now, but I don't see anything interesting. I wish the camera had a different angle so I could see out through the front door. Oh, someone logged in. I had an old crappy webcam laying around in a closet that I could use to video chat with my friend. It felt good to see his face, but I couldn't really explain why I wanted to chat with him. Couldn't talk for very long anyway. And we didn't say anything of importance, but I feel much better. Now my strange fear is almost gone. Everything would have felt great. If it weren't for the fact that something felt even with this conversation. I know I've written before that everything feels strange right now, but he was just so you in his answers. I can't recall a single specific detail. He mentioned no names, no places, no events, but he did ask for my email so we could stay in touch. And look at that, I just got an email. I'm about to go out. Now the email is from Amy and she wants to meet up for dinner at our usual spot. I love pizza and haven't eaten anything but forgotten leftovers from my half-empty fridge in days, so this is going to be great again. You feel dumb about how I've been acting these past few days. I should destroy this diary when I get back. Oh, another email. I almost left the email unread and opened the door. It was from a friend I hadn't heard from in a while, and it was sent to a bunch of email addresses. Must have been everyone in his contact book. It had no subject, and it was brief. See with your own eyes, don't trust them. Hey, what the hell does that mean? I was disproportionately shocked by the email, and I've read it over and over again. It's a desperate email sent just as if something happened. It's clearly cut off in the middle without finishing the thought. Any other day, I would have dismissed this as spam from Eris or something, but those words, see with your own eyes. I can't help but note what I've written over the past few days, think about what's happened, and realize that I haven't actually seen anyone else with my own eyes. In a while, the video conversation was so weird, vague, and spooky. Now that I think about it, was it spooky? Or is my fear just distorting my memory of it? My brain is playing with the sequence of events I've described here, and pointing out the fact that Vitalkit has been able to say anything I hadn't already shared with them. In that wrong number phone call, I gave out my name, after which Amy called with her weird phone call. My friend asked for my email, and I was the one who sent them a chat message first, and the first email came after our conversation. Oh my god, the phone call with Amy. I said on the phone that I was half an hour from 7th Street. They know I'm nearby. What am I going to do? They try to find me, whereas everyone else. Why haven't I heard or seen anyone else in days? Nana, this is crazy. This is totally insane. Oh, calm down. This madness has to stop. I don't know what to believe. I ran around my apartment like a madman with the phone held up in every corner to see if I could get reception anywhere. Finally, in the farthest corner between the ceiling and wall in the tinny bathroom, I got to bar. I held phone there and sent a text message to every number in my contact book. I didn't want to reveal anything about what I feared, so all I wrote was, have you seen anyone with your own eyes recently? Then I just wanted a reply from anyone. I didn't care what or if I embarrassed myself. I tried calling a few times, but I couldn't keep my head in the corner long enough. And if it took the phone down, I lost the signal completely. Then I remembered the computer and ran over to it to send chat messages to everyone who was online, most were inactive or marked as away from their computers. And noon responded. My messages got more and more desperate, and I started telling people where I was and inviting the mover on grounds that barely passed as reasonable. I just didn't care anymore. I just needed to see another person. I also turned my apartment upside down, searching for something. I might have missed some way to contact the outside world without having to go outside the door. I know how crazy and unfounded it is, but what if I just had to be sure? It taped the phone to the ceiling, just in case. Tuesday, the phone rang, completely exhausted from yesterday's frantic. I must have fallen asleep. I woke up to the sound of the phone ringing, ran into the bathroom and stood on the toilet. Though I could talk into the taped up phone, it was Amy, and it feels much better. Now she was really worried about me and had obviously been trying to reach me ever since we last talked. She's on her way over now. And yeah, she knows where I live without me having told her. I'm so embarrassed. I'm definitely throwing away this diary before anyone sees it. I don't even know why I'm writing it now. Maybe because it's the only place I've let my thoughts out. God, I don't even know how long I look like hell too. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror and my eyes are sunken, my stubble is thicker. And I generally don't look well. The apartment is a mess, but I'm not going to clean it. Someone else needs to see how I've been living these past few days. Have not been normal. I'm not the type to imagine things. I know I've been a victim of extreme coincidences. I must have missed seeing other people by seconds several times, and I happened to go out just when it was night or when everyone was gone during the day. Everything is totally fine. I get that now. Plus, I found something in the clothes last night that helped a lot. A small TV. I've got it now and it's playing in the background as I write this. TV has always been an escape method for me, and it reminds me that there's a world outside these creepy stone walls. I'm glad Amy is the only one who responded after last night's manic pestering of everyone I could reach. She's been my best friend for years. She has no idea. But I count the day I first met her as one of the few genuinely happy moments in my life. I'm filled with joy when I think back to that warm summer day. It feels like a completely different reality than this dark, rainy, and lonely place. Felt like we spent days at that playground, way too old to be. We just talking to each other without doing anything special sometimes. I can imagine that feeling again, and it reminds me that this damn hole isn't all that exists. Finally, someone's knocking at the door. I thought it was a bit strange that I didn't see her on the camera hid between the two soda machines. It must have had to do with its poor placement. Couldn't see out the front door. I thought I should have known after the knock on the door. I jokingly called out that I had a camera between the soda machines because I was embarrassed about how far me paranoia had dragged me. She walked over to the camera and looked down at it. Is all smile and wave on my computer screen. Hey, she said cheerfully, but with a strange look at the camera. I know it's really weird. Is Ed to the microphone I have in my computer. I've had a few weird days. Definitely, she replied. Open the door. John, I hesitated. How could I be sure? Wait, just give me second. Is Ed into the microphone? Tell me something about us. Just something that proves it. She gave the camera another strange look. Okay, she said slowly, thinking we met at a playground event. We were both way too old to be there. As I deeply as the sense of our reality returned and the fear faded. God, how silly I'd been. Of course, Imith Day existed nowhere, but in my memory I'd never even mentioned it to anyone. Not because it was embarrassing or anything, but because it gave me a nostalgic feeling of holding on to a secret. If some mysterious force was trying to trick me, I feared it couldn't possibly have known about that day. Haha. Okay, I'll explain everything. As Ed right there, I ran into the bathroom to fix my head as best I could. I looked like hell, but she would understand with a grin over how I'd been acting and how my room was. I walked over to the door, put my hand on the doorknob, and gave the chaos one last look. So ridiculous. I thought. My eyes swept over the half-eaten food on the floor, the overflowing trash can, and the bed I had overturned in the search for, well, God knows what. I turned halfway toward the door to open it. But first my gaze fell on one last thing. The old webcam, the one I had used for my strange video chat with that friend, its dark black shape lay sprawled over the desk with the lens facing the spot where this diary lay. A terrible feeling of dread crept into me. I realized that if someone could see through that camera, they could have seen what I wrote in it the day before. I asked her to tell me just one thing about us, and she chose the one. I didn't think anyone else knew, but they did. They knew they've been watching Meth this whole time. I didn't open the door. I screamed in wild terror, threw the camera on the floor and stomped on it. The door shook, and someone yanked at the door knob. But I didn't hear Amy's voice through the basement door. Was built to keep out drafts. Was it too thick, or was Amy not out there? What else could have been trying to get? And if not there, what the hell was out there? As aware on the computer screamed through the camera, I heard her voice, but was it real? How can I know that she's gone now? I screamed and called for help. I pushed everything I have in the apartment into a pile in front of the door. Friday. At least I think it's Friday. I've smashed everything electronic. I smashed the computer to bits. Everything on it could have been accessed by others, or worse, altered by them. I'm a programmer. I know this stuff. All the information I've given out since this started, my name, my email, where I am, I didn't get any of it back until I gave it out myself. I've gone over it again and again. I've been swinging between terror and wild disbeliefs. Sometimes I'm completely convinced that some kind of supernatural entity has decided to lure me outside, just like it did in the beginning, in that phone call with Amy. When she asked me to open the door and go out, it hovered in my head over and over. From one perspective, I've acted like a madman. And all of this is just the result of a bunch of free coincidences that I managed to go out at the wrong time, that I never saw another person by pure bad luck, that I got a spam mail at exactly the wrong time. But the other perspective is that the free coincidences are exact what has kept me safe from whatever it is that's out there hunting me. I can't stop thinking that I never actually opened that window on the 3rd floor. I didn't open the front door until that stupid idea with a hidden camera, but to vent. Then I ran lightning fast back into my room and shut the door behind me. Since then I haven't opened the door. Whatever's out there, if there is anything, hasn't shown itself inside the house until I opened the front door. Maybe it was somewhere else first to capture everyone else, and then it waited for me until Eve ailed my existence by trying to call Amy. It didn't work, but then it called back and asked for my name. I'm literally overwhelmed with fear every time. Topi said together all the parts of this nightmare. The email short and cut off. Did it come from someone trying to make me aware of what's happening? A real friend who actually wanted to warn me about what was happening before it struck. See with your own eyes. Don't trust them. Exactly the things I've been so suspicious about. Could have total control over everything electronic and use that to influence. So I would be tricked into going outside. Why can't it come in on its own? It knocked on the door, so it must be able to manifest physically. The door, the image of the doors on the 3rd floor as guarding monolith scum soup every time. It raced my thoughts backward. If there's some kind of ghostly entity out there trying to lure me out, maybe it can't got through doors. I'm trying to think of all the books I've read and movies I've seen, and a possible explanation. Doors have always been a significant focal point in human imagination, seen as portals or spaces of special significance, or maybe the door is just too thick. I can't break through any of the doors in this building myself, least of all the thick basement doors. Besides this, there. The question is why it even wants me if it just wanted to kill me. There are plenty of ways to do that, including letting me starve to death. What if it doesn't want to kill me? What if it has a worse fate prepared for me? Oh my God, what am I supposed to do to escape this nightmare? And now there's knocking on the door again. I told the people on the other side of the door that I needed to think for a minute, and that I would come out after that. I'm writing this to buy time to figure out what to do this time. At least I heard their voice, my paranoia. And yes, I admit that I'm paranoid has got meth. Thinking about all the ways their voices could have been faked. It could be speakers set up out there simulating human voices. Why did it take them 3 days together? Amy is supposedly out there with 2 cops and a psychiatrist. Maybe it took 3 days to figure out what to say to meth. That psychiatrist could be pretty convincing. If I decided to believe that this was all just a big misunderstanding and not something evil trying to get me to open the door, the psychiatrist's voice sounded experienced, authoritative yet caring. I liked it, and I'm desperate to see someone. Thmioni, she said I had something called cyberpsychosis, and that I was suffering from a wide epidemic where thousands of people had broken down after a sensational email somehow slipped through. Is where, he said, it slipped through. I think he meant it slipped through spam filters, but I also have strong suspicions that it was that ghostly entity that accidentally let some things slip. Said I was part of a wave of emerging behavior, and that many others felt the same fear. Though we never communicated with each other, that would explain the strange email. I got about seeing things with my own eyes. I didn't get the original email that triggered the epidemic, but a spin-off of it from a friend who also broke down and tried to warn everyone. He knew about his paranoid fear. That's how the problem spread. The psychiatrist said that I could have spread it further myself with my text and chat messages to everyone. I know someone who got those messages might be sitting at home collapsing right now, because they interpreted it as wildly as I've interpreted the attempts at contact that have reached me. The psychiatrist said he didn't want to lose another one that people like me are intelligent, and that's why we're drawn in. We're so good at connecting events to each other that we do it even when there's no connection. He said it's so easy to get caught up in paranoia in our hectic world, an ever-changing place where less and less of our interaction happens physically. I have to say that his explanation is brilliant. Clear soup everything in a convenient way. It clears soup everything perfectly, actually. I have every reason now to shake off my nightmarish fear that some entity, creature, or monster out there is trying to get me open the door so it can capture me, subject me to a fate worse than if it would be stupid to after an explanation as good as that stay in here and starve to death just to defy a being that's captured everyone. It would be stupid to after an explanation as good as that believe that I'm the last one left in a safe basement room, an empty world taunting some unthinkable demon. It's such a perfect explanation for every weird thing I've noticed or heard, and I have every reason in the world to let go of the fear and goop in the door, which is exactly why I'm not going to do it. How can I be sure? How can I know for sure what's real and what's an illusional? These damn things with their YN signals coming from invisible sources. They're not real. I can't be sure of signals through a camera, fake videos, deceptive phone calls, and email. Then the TV lying broken on the floor. How can I know for sure that it was real? It's just signals, waves, light, the door, it's pounding on the door. Again, it's trying to get, and what insane creations is it choosing to manipulate the door so that it sounds exactly like people attacking its heavy wood. At least, now I'll finally get to see it with my own eyes. There's nothing left in here that it could deceive me with, because I've destroyed everything. It can't trick my own eyes. Can it see with your own eyes and don't trust them? They wait, was that desperate email actually trying to warn me not to trust my own eyes? Oh my god. What's the difference between a camera and my eyes? They both convert light into electronic signals the same. I mustn't let myself be fooled. I have to be sure. Unknown date. I calmly and quietly asked for paper and a pen, day in and day out, until it finally gave up and let me have them. And that it makes any difference. What does it think I'm going to do? Gouge out my eyes again? The bandages feel like a part of me. Now the pain is gone. I guess this is one of my last chances to write legibly, since without being able to see, I'll soon forget the motions. So one makes this writing is a bit self-indulgent, a relic from another time, unique. Because I know everyone else housed to populate the world is now dead, or worse. I sit against the padded wall day after day. The entity feeds me and gives me water. It disguises itself as a nurse or an arrogant doctor. Think it knows him. Hearing has become remarkably better. Now that I live in darkness, it plays out small conversations in the hallway outside the door. Just in case I might overhear one of the nurses is supposed to have a baby soon. One of the doctors lost this wife in a car accident. Nothing makes any difference. Because nothing is true, nothing. Can't touch me, not like she can't. That's the worst part, the thing I can barely handle. The entity comes to me pretending to be Amy. It does a perfect imitation. It sounds and feels exactly like Amy, even producing a decent copy of a turf that it lets me feel on. Slife-like cheek when it first dragged me, and here it said all the things. I wanted to hear it said that she loved me, that she had always loved me, that she didn't understand why I had done this, but that we could still be together. If I just stopped insisting on believing that I was being deceived, it needed me to believe that she was real. I almost fell for it. I really did. I doubted myself until the very end, but finally everything was too perfect, too flawless. Rel, the fake Amy, came here every day, and then every week. And then it stopped coming altogether, but I don't think the entity plans to give up. Think its endurance content is just another cunning trick I'm going to resist for the rest of my life. If I have to, I don't know what's happened to the rest of the world, but I know that this entity needs me to be fooled by its lies, and if it needs that, then maybe I can be an obstacle to its plans. Maybe Amy is still alive somewhere out there unharmed. As long as I keep resisting, I hold on. Hope live as is it there, rocking back and forth to pass the time. I'll never give up. I'll never break down. I am a hero.